In 1910, the city of London was gripped by a mystery that would become one of the most infamous true crime stories of the early 20th century. The disappearance of Cora Crippen, a flamboyant American music hall singer, sparked a sensational investigation that quickly focused on her husband, Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen. A mild-mannered homeopath, Dr. Crippen was known in his community as a respectable and quiet professional. However, the sudden vanishing of his wife under mysterious circumstances cast a shadow of suspicion over him, turning his life upside down and catapulting the case into the public eye. Cora's disappearance wasn't immediately regarded with suspicion. Dr. Crippen initially told inquiring friends and acquaintances that she had returned to America, and later tragically passed away. However, doubts began to surface as inconsistencies in his story emerged, and Cora's friends and the authorities became increasingly skeptical. This skepticism intensified when Ethel Leneve, Dr. Crippen's young secretary, moved into his home shortly after Cora's alleged departure. This case not only captivated the public due to its dramatic and tragic elements, but also because it highlighted the changing nature of crime detection and the role of forensic science, which was in its infancy at the time. The story of Cora Crippen's disappearance sets the stage for a tale of love, betrayal, and a criminal investigation that would use groundbreaking techniques to solve a mystery that seemed to confound conventional methods. Cora Crippen, whose real name was Kunigund Makamotsky, was a woman of considerable presence, born to a Russian-Polish father and a German mother. She and Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen married in 1893 in Jersey City, America. In 1897, the couple moved to London, where Dr. Crippen was employed as a representative for Munion's Remedies, a company that made homeopathic remedies. Cora, under the stage name Belle Elmore, aspired to be a music hall artist, although she lacked the talent for it. Despite her aspirations, her career in the music hall did not yield much success. However, she did manage to make some show business connections and secured the position of treasurer. Cora was known to be an overbearing and dominant character, a stark contrast to her husband, who was described as meek and gentle. In 1905, the couple moved into a house at 39 Hilldrop Crescent in Holloway, London. This move was partly influenced by the fact that their relationship was becoming distant, allowing them to have separate bedrooms. Cora was not particularly interested in a physical relationship, and according to Dr. Crippen, all physical relations between them ceased in 1907. Around the same time, Dr. Crippen began an affair with Ethel Leneve. The last known sighting of Belle Elmore was on the evening of January 31, 1910, at a dinner party she and Dr. Crippen hosted for her friends, Paul and Clara Martindi. The dinner seemed pleasant enough, except for an incident where Belle berated Dr. Crippen for not escorting a guest to the toilet. Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen was born in Coldwater, Michigan, the only surviving child of Andres Skinner and Myron Augustus Crippen, a merchant. He studied at the University of Michigan Homeopathic Medical School and later graduated from the Cleveland Homeopathic Medical College in 1884. After the death of his first wife, Charlotte Jane, due to a stroke in 1892, he moved his son to live with his parents in San Jose, California. Crippen began practicing as a homeopath in New York City. In 1894, he married his second wife, Corinne Cora Turner, known by her stage name Belle Elmore, a music hall singer. The same year, he started working for Dr. Munion's, a homeopathic pharmaceutical company. Despite his U.S. medical qualifications, he was not permitted to practice as a doctor in the United Kingdom when he and Cora moved there in 1897. He continued his work as a distributor of patent medicines, while Cora socialized with various variety players of the time, including Lil Hawthorne and her husband, manager John Nash. Crippen's career took a turn when he was dismissed from Munion's in 1899 for spending too much time managing his wife's stage career. He then became the manager of Drowett's Institution for the Deaf, where he hired Ethel Leneve, a young typist, in 1900. By 1905, Dr. Crippen and Ethel Leneve had begun an affair. The Crippens moved to 39 Hilldrop Crescent in Holloway, London, in the same year, taking in lodgers to supplement Crippen's income. During this period, Cora had an affair with one of the lodgers, and Crippen's relationship with Ethel Leneve deepened. The events leading up to and following Cora Crippen's disappearance began with turmoil in her marriage to Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen. Around 1908, Dr. Crippen, already in a dysfunctional marriage with Cora, began an affair with Ethel Leneve, a typist he had met 5 years earlier. The marriage stumbled on for a couple more years, reaching a critical point after a party at their home at 39 Hilldrop Crescent on January 31, 1910. The day after this party, Dr. Crippen announced that Cora had decided to return to the United States for an extended holiday. He later added that she had sadly passed away in California and had been cremated. In the meantime, Crippen moved Ethel Leneve into Hilldrop Crescent. Ethel was even seen wearing clothing and jewelry belonging to Cora. This raised suspicions among Cora's friends, prompting them to ask the police to investigate. The house was searched, and Dr. Crippen was interviewed by Chief Inspector Walter Dew of Scotland Yard. During the search, nothing incriminating was found, and Dr. Crippen admitted to Dew that he had fabricated the story about Cora's death. He claimed she had left him and gone to America with a lover, a music hall actor named Bruce Miller. Crippen maintained that his fabrication was due to the shame he felt at his wife's alleged immoral behavior. Initially, Chief Inspector Dew was satisfied with Crippen's explanation and planned no further action. However, the intervention of the police appears to have panicked Dr. Crippen. The day after the police visit, he and Ethel fled to Brussels, Belgium. From there, they boarded an ocean liner called the SS Montrose, bound for Canada. This sudden disappearance raised suspicions of Chief Inspector Dew, leading him to conduct a more detailed search at Hilldrop Crescent. During the fourth and final search, police found the torso of a human body buried under the brick floor of the basement. The remains were identified as Cora's by a piece of skin from the abdomen. The head, limbs, and skeleton were never recovered. William Wilcox, a senior scientific analyst to the Home Office, found traces of the calming drug scopolamine in the torso. After Cora Crippen's disappearance, Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen provided an explanation that initially deflected suspicion. He claimed that Cora had decided to return to the United States for an extended holiday. As inquiries about her continued, he further elaborated that she had tragically passed away while in California and had been cremated. This explanation was initially accepted by their acquaintances and even by the police. However, the truthfulness of his account was questioned, particularly when Ethel Leneve, Dr. Crippen's secretary and lover, moved into Hilldrop Crescent and was seen wearing Cora's clothes and jewelry. This raised suspicions among Cora's friends and eventually led to a more thorough police investigation. Dr. Crippen's narrative, which was a cover for the grim reality of the situation, began to unravel as these investigations deepened. The suspicions regarding Cora Crippen's disappearance began to surface when Ethel Leneve, Dr. Crippen's secretary and mistress, moved into the Crippen residence at Hilldrop Crescent and started wearing Cora's clothing and jewelry. This behavior raised eyebrows among Cora's friends, who found it peculiar and unsettling given the recent and sudden disappearance of Cora. Cora's friends, troubled by this unusual turn of events and Dr. Crippen's explanation, reached out to the police, urging them to investigate further. Their suspicions were fueled by the inconsistencies in Dr. Crippen's story and the rapid changes in his domestic life. The police initially accepted Dr. Crippen's explanation, but were eventually compelled to take a closer look due to the persistence of Cora's friends and the growing doubts about the authenticity of Dr. Crippen's account of his wife's whereabouts and her alleged death. These growing suspicions. Ethel Leneve played a pivotal role in the case of Cora Crippen's disappearance. She was Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen's young secretary and became his mistress around 1908. Her involvement with Dr. Crippen began to raise suspicions when, shortly after Cora's disappearance, she moved into the Crippen residence at Hilldrop Crescent and was seen wearing Cora's clothes and jewelry. This behavior was one of the key factors that fueled suspicions about Cora's sudden disappearance. Ethel's close relationship with Dr. Crippen and her subsequent actions following Cora's disappearance became central to the investigation, leading to further scrutiny of Dr. Crippen's account of events and ultimately contributing to the unraveling of his fabricated story. Ethel's role in the case became even more significant when she fled with Dr. Crippen to Canada, a move that intensified the police investigation and eventually led to their capture. The initial police investigation into Cora Crippen's disappearance began with a degree of skepticism towards Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen's explanation of events. After a dinner party at their home in January 1910, Cora disappeared, and when questioned, Dr. Crippen first claimed that she had moved back to America, where she had subsequently died. However, he later altered his story, stating that she had returned to America to live with her lover, a music hall actor named Bruce Miller. These inconsistencies, combined with Cora's friends' suspicions about her sudden absence and Ethel Leneve's presence in the Crippen household, led to an increased scrutiny by the police. Chief Inspector Dew of the Metropolitan Police initially questioned Dr. Crippen about his wife's absence. Crippen confessed to Dew that he had fabricated the entire story of his wife's death out of embarrassment, claiming she had eloped to Chicago with one of her lovers from the music hall. This admission, along with the fact that Ethel Leneve had moved into the Crippen home after Cora's disappearance, raised further doubts. Despite Dr. Crippen's admission, the initial search of the house by the police revealed nothing incriminating. However, the whispers and suspicions about Dr. Crippen grew louder, leading to further investigations. Ultimately, the increasing pressure and the police's continued interest led Dr. Crippen and Ethel Leneve to flee the country, a decision that only exacerbated suspicions and led to more detailed searches of the Crippen residence. These subsequent searches culminated in the discovery of human remains in the coal cellar of the house. The investigation into Cora Crippen's disappearance took a grim turn with a shocking discovery in the Crippen home. During a detailed search of the house at Hilldrop Crescent, police uncovered a horrifying scene in the coal cellar: the remains of a human torso, missing its head, limbs, and sexual organs. These remains were wrapped in a pair of old pajamas and emitted a pungent odor of rotting flesh. Pioneering forensic pathologist Bernard Spilsbury examined the remains and determined them to be Cora's, based on surgery marks on a piece of still intact skin. He also found traces of the drug hyoscine in the flesh, which police discovered Dr. Crippen had purchased shortly before Cora's disappearance. The chase of Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen and Ethel Lanieve turned into a dramatic transatlantic pursuit. After the discovery of human remains in their home, the couple, fearing arrest, fled to Belgium and then boarded the SS Montrose, bound for Canada. They posed as father and son, with Ethel disguised as a boy, to evade detection. However, their escape plan was foiled when Chief Inspector Walter Dew, acting on heightened suspicions due to their sudden departure, decided to search their house more thoroughly, leading to the grisly discovery. Using the groundbreaking technology of wireless telegraphy, Dew communicated with the captain of the SS Montrose and alerted him to the true identities of the fugitives. Dew then boarded a faster ship, the SS Laurentic, and pursued them across the Atlantic. Upon the Montrose's arrival in Quebec, Dew, disguised as a pilot, boarded the ship and arrested Crippen and Ethel Lanieve. This marked the first time wireless telegraphy was used to capture a criminal, making it a significant event in the history of law enforcement. Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen's trial commenced on October 18, 1910, at the Old Bailey, London, and lasted until October 22. The trial was conducted before the Lord Chief Justice of England, Lord Alverstone, and it was decided that Dr. Crippen and Ethel Lanieve would not be tried together. Crippen faced his trial first, with Ethel Lanieve to be tried as an accessory after his verdict was determined. The prosecution's case hinged on proving that the body found in the cellar of the Crippen home was indeed Belle Elmore. One critical piece of evidence was a piece of flesh found in the shallow grave, which bore a scar. Medical records showed that Belle had a similar scar on her lower abdomen. Another crucial evidence was a pajama jacket in which the remains were wrapped. The tag inside the jacket led to its manufacturers, Jones Brothers, who confirmed that the particular cloth and pattern were not issued until late 1908, indicating that the body must have been placed there after that date. Medical tests also showed traces of hyoscine, a poison, in the flesh. It was known that Crippen had purchased 5 grains of that substance on January 17, 2 weeks before Belle vanished. Dr. Crippen's defense maintained that the body in the cellar was not Belle's and suggested that it belonged to some unknown woman, perhaps placed there before he and Belle had moved in. Crippen's legal team argued that the abdominal scar identified by Bernard Spilsbury was simply folded tissue, and not a scar, as it had hair follicles growing from it, something they claimed scar tissue could not have. However, Spilsbury noted that the sebaceous glands appeared at the ends but not in the middle of the scar. The jury found Crippen guilty of his wife's murder after just under 30 minutes of deliberation. He showed no remorse for his wife during the proceedings and was only concerned for his lover's reputation. Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen was convicted for the murder of his wife, Cora Crippen, after a trial that captivated public attention. The jury, after deliberating for only 27 minutes, found him guilty. The evidence presented, particularly the forensic findings of Bernard Spilsbury, played a critical role in the conviction. The discovery of Cora Crippen's remains in the cellar of their home, combined with the testimony regarding the hyoscine found in the remains and the identification of the pajama jacket, sealed Dr. Crippen's fate. His conviction marked a significant moment in criminal history, showcasing the evolving role of forensic science in solving crimes. Ethel Lanieve, Dr. Crippen's mistress and accomplice in his attempt to flee, was tried separately after Dr. Crippen's conviction. She was charged with being an accessory after the fact to the murder of Cora Crippen. However, she was acquitted of these charges and subsequently released. The trial for Ethel Lanieve focused on her involvement and knowledge of the crime, but the prosecution was unable to sufficiently prove her complicity or awareness of Dr. Crippen's actions regarding the murder of his wife. Her acquittal allowed her to walk free from the case, which had garnered significant public and media attention. The case of Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen stirred a tremendous public reaction and media frenzy. It was one of the most sensational crime stories of its time, capturing the attention of both the British public and the international audience. Newspapers and the burgeoning field of tabloid journalism extensively covered every twist and turn of the case, from the initial disappearance of Cora Crippen to the dramatic transatlantic chase and the subsequent trial. The case was a topic of widespread public discussion and speculation, reflecting the growing public fascination with true crime stories. The legacy of the Crippen case is profound, particularly in the realms of criminal investigation and forensic science. It was one of the first major cases in which forensic pathology played a crucial role in securing a conviction, thereby highlighting the importance of scientific methods in criminal investigations. The case also marked the first use of wireless telegraphy in apprehending a suspect, demonstrating the potential of emerging technologies in law enforcement. The Crippen case set precedents and paved the way for modern forensic techniques, changing how crimes were investigated and solved in the years to come. As we conclude this exploration of the notorious Dr. Crippen case, we're left with a haunting reminder of the complexities of human nature and the evolution of criminal investigation. This case, woven with betrayal, deception, and groundbreaking forensic discovery, not only captivated the world in the early 20th century, but also marked a pivotal point in the annals of crime solving. It's a story that continues to intrigue and educate, underscoring the enduring impact of forensic science in unveiling truths hidden in the shadows. As we reflect on this saga, we're reminded of the relentless pursuit of justice and the ever-evolving landscape of criminal detection that shapes our understanding of law and order.